Okay, it is on.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first podcast of Pilu. I am your host, Paleki, and boop, this is your part,
And
Louise.
and I'm the other host, Louise Farr. Welcome to Pilu.
Yes, perfect. And for those of you who don't know, everybody calls me P, and everybody calls her Lou, which is how we got the name Pilu. So, what we're going to be doing with every episode each week is we are going to be discussing different spiritual topics that have either come up for us in our personal journeys or something that we feel might actually be a relevant teaching for people, depending on what they are going through or even the times that we are facing. So, I'm going to swap it over to Lou, and what we're going to do is do little introductions first just so that you can find out a tiny bit about us and actually what it is that we do with our practices. So you kind of know the background that we're coming from when we're offering these different talks. So you go ahead, Lou, jump right on in.
Well, my name is Louise, and I have a nice little space up here in Keswick Ridge, New Brunswick called Your Healing Journey. And my journey started at a young age where most of us would think we had imaginary friends when we were little kids. But I had my first initiation to meet spirits at a young age, around 3 or 4 years old. And of course, life took me on different journeys and paths, and with the relationships that I've had with my parents and my siblings. And along the way, some bumps in the road that brought me to learning about Reiki and shamanism. And today I have a wonderful practice, and I met Paleki, gosh, what is it, 20 years ago, P?
Quite a while ago, but I'm just going to jump back in, Lou. For those people that may be joining us for the first time, that so maybe your first introduction to spirituality, maybe you could explain for them a little bit what Reiki is or even shamanism, just so that they can get a bit more of an in-depth understanding.
Okay, well, Reiki, my first feeling of Reiki was through my massage, and what I felt personally was a connection with Source, and it helped me start my healing process. And so, Reiki to me, it represents unconditional love. Reiki is the universal life force. It's everything that is on Mother Earth that has energy that we are connected to. So that's how I explain it to people. If you believe that the source, the creator, God, whoever you wish to name it, has created this beautiful living force, life force on earth, that's Reiki. But for me, it represented unconditional love. I was
Mm-hmm.
receiving this beautiful energy from a massage therapist who I didn't even know. And I thought, why am I receiving this unconditional love from a stranger? But that's the Reiki. That's the Reiki
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then shamanism came to me after doing my first drum. I made my first drum with an elder here in New Brunswick. And that opened up a different path for me where I really connected to, in shamanism, the journeys we take is in the non-ordinary reality worlds of the lower
Mm-hmm.
world and the upper world, where you meet your compassion helping allies. So you're working in pure compassion again, unconditional love from these compassionate helping helpers, allies, and then the journey unfolds. I teach also shamanism. I teach Reiki. I have a drum circle up here, drum journeying circle for people who know how to journey. Um, with COVID right now, I'm doing it online. So you can find me at Louise at yourhealingjourney.ca or on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram under Journeying Lou, and on Facebook, Your Healing Journey with Louise Lang Farr. So in a nutshell, that's
Perfect. Lovely.
that's what I do. What about you, P?
And
How
I
did
want to
you
just jump
start?
in on
Yeah.
something. I'm actually going to jump on something before I do my little backstory. So you will notice if you heard Lou mention it, she said sort of God, source, universe. You'll notice when we're doing talks throughout, we might interchange the words, but you can basically put whatever you want it to be. So we might say God, but you might want to look at it as universe, or we might say like your source. We might say all that is the divine. It's basically the same words. It's just where we have mixed different backgrounds and spiritual teachings, where they refer to it as different things. We may use the words interchangeably, but it's all basically referring to that which is, or that universal greatness, okay? Now for myself, welcome everybody. Some of you may know me, others may not. My name is Paleki, and my main practice, or my main spiritual focus that I work on, is I am a spiritual reader. So for myself, I'm a spiritual medium. So what that means is I communicate with people's family and friends that have passed home to the other side. And the way that I do that is the spirit will connect with me, and they'll give me specific validations, messages, or certain things that are very, very specific to the family, so that they know that they are getting a direct connection back from their loved one that has passed. And then I also connect to people's angels or spirit guides. And again, that's another thing you may hear Lou and I do, because we believe in angels and guides. And again, the words may be used interchangeably, but in shamanism, you normally tend to say your guides or your compassionate spirit helpers. Whereas more when it comes to spiritual work, we may refer to it as angels, or if we're talking about healing work, you may hear us kind of say angelic healers. So again, it's all similar words, but what we're basically saying is no matter how we phrase it, it's all, we're working with that sort of light energy, that positive affirmation, that divine loving source, just being channeled in different ways to be able to help people on their different spiritual journeys. And myself, I started my spiritual practice. I've always been lucky in that I've had it. My mother was Buddhist when I was growing up. So for myself, when I was about 12, 13 years old, I started tapping into my intuition, and my mother was there to help me. And then eventually it took over with my guides. I started working with myself. And then I also have my practice in Fredericton, New Brunswick as well. So that's how Lou and I met, also through the healing work that we did. I'm pretty sure we even attended some drum circles together in that, if I'm not mistaken. I might have come to some of your drum circles to start with, or because it was quite a while ago now. And then it was just, we have similar groups that we hang out in. And that's how we sort of came together. But what we both do is very similar understandings of the work that the other one does, even though we don't specifically focus on the area of expertise. So when it comes more to shamanism practice, Louise has done more studying in that area than I have. So Lou will take over kind of more in those discussions or those areas with her level of expertise. Same thing kind of with me, where we're connecting with sort of spirits or things like that. And even with it, it'll be different, because in shamanism, you do connect. And for those that don't know, when we refer to shamanism, it's more kind of the earth spiritualities. So is that kind of a way that you would look at it, Lou? You would say more kind of earth spiritualities, or how would you define shamanism for people that might be intrigued by that practice?
Well, the word shaman is really not our language. It's the language of the Tuvan people and the people in Mongolia and in Eastern Europe. But it's sort of has been brought to the Western world through Dr. Michael Harner's studies. That he was a cultural anthropologist, so he studied all the continents, and what he discovered. These shamans, he discovered the commonality was that they all journeyed with a percussion sound, with a drum beat, or two sticks. The Aborigines in Australia, the two sticks to do the walkabouts. That's all journeying the shamanic way. So other words, I said elders. So there's elders in our communities. There's les femmes sages, les hommes sages, sage women, sage men. They all do this type of work. So every culture around the world has this practice, and they have their own language. They have their own way of explaining it and honoring it. But like you were saying, P, we speak a different language, but at the end result, it's the same. The energies are basically the same.
And I think that too, not only just with these practices, but any kind of religion, at the end of the day, they all have this sort of base same message of that divine loving source, that divine connection. And it's sometimes the language is, because Louise and I have discussed this many times, it's sort of sometimes even terminology can confuse people or mix people up as to a practice, when basically it's all the same thing, just being applied in a different way that works for people. So I know with you told me once before, like you really found, like you felt your like you found your niche when you found your shamanistic practice, when you like found that sort of part for you, that it kind of just clicked with you and it made sense for your process.
Ever since and for me, it was all about ceremony. And throughout the years, learning about shamanism and learning about our ancestors coming over here and working with the indigenous population, they took on a lot of the ceremonies from the indigenous people.
Yeah.
So when you go to the churches, pay attention to the incense that's being
Yeah.
burned. Pay attention to the ceremony, how it's presented. They learned that from
Hmm. Hmm.
the First Nation people here
And I mean,
in
a
North
lot of it
America.
too, even if you look at Catholicism, like the deep prayers, like when you go into those deep kind of prayers that really, where you're linking up to your connection to God. I mean, that in and of itself could also be considered a version of journeying, couldn't it?
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
definitely, definitely. What in anything in chanting, you
Hmm. Hmm.
trance
Yep.
state, go into this state of journeying and connecting to source and
Hmm.
connecting to God. So yes, everything is we all speak we all speak the same language, but in a different dialect. Is that the right
Hmm.
way of
Hmm.
saying
No, no, no,
it?
for
Maybe.
sure, 100%, 100%. And I think this is important because this is maybe a good segue because I know a lot of people that I've spoken to over the years myself almost have this hard time integrating a spiritual practice and their religious practice. Because there's almost these dogmatic beliefs from Christianity or maybe a traditional religious belief where they feel they can't integrate them. And Louise is a perfect example where she still has a very strong Catholic practice herself, integrated with your shamanistic practice. Because I know that's one thing you always tell your people that you can practice shamanism and still have a religious background in and of itself as well.
Oh, definitely. And because you said it at the beginning, this is earth-based. This is
Hmm.
this is ground roots practice. This
Hmm.
is what our ancestors practice,
Yep.
in the country they came from. And when they came here, they got colonized, and the church came involved in it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
but in the root of every family was this practice of
Hmm.
honoring the
Hmm.
earth and honoring the food that was coming from the earth, and being grateful. And
Hmm.
Thanksgiving is
Hmm.
coming this weekend, and this is a practice of being grateful for what
It's
we
true.
receive
Yep.
from the earth.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Well, I found for me too, I was just saying on sort of this topic with my medium work, connecting with the spirits. One of the things that I always told you about, even, and I'll always tell people I found this fascinating. When I first started out as a business, when I opened up the readings to the general public, when I was ready to do that, I honestly thought that the people that were going to come to me the most or the biggest demographic was sort of going to be more the new age kind of style, the spiritual practice kind of thing. And the largest group that actually started out my business, I always tell people, were French Catholics. Because I didn't realize that in the French Catholic culture, it's actually very normal for you guys to connect with spirituality, or with that kind of talking to spirits is not considered an odd thing. It's actually very normal. Because a lot of the time I would get the mother would come, the child would come, the aunt would come, the uncle would come, the grandmother would come. Like, I would find entire families would want to come for readings, and it was very, very normal for them. And I'd be like, yeah, my mom used to talk about talking to spirits all the time growing up, or we'd go to the church and you light the candles, you're praying to the spirits, you're connecting with them. So that was one of the groups that I found actually already had a very ingrained belief that connecting with spirits or talking to those that have passed was actually a very normal, everyday thing for them to be able to do.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of superstitious
Hmm.
beliefs
Yes.
with
Yeah.
that comes with that in the families and things.
That's true. It depends on the family, depends on the branch, because some of them would say that what we do is not considered appropriate according to certain verses in the Bible. Now,
Yes.
but now it depends though, because again, like anything can be taken into interpretation. Because even practices in shamanism, Buddhism, anything, you could take certain areas and apply it to your belief if you want it to be opposite or contrary to what it actually is. So I mean, I could take a Buddhist practice and go, oh no, Buddhism would teach this, you can't do that. Buddhism says this, you can't open to this. So I don't want people to think that it's almost just like the Catholic area that might have issues with this. That's why we're saying to people, you can be Buddhist, but make your spirituality work for you, not force yourself to fit into your spiritual practice. Because
Yeah.
many people nowadays, I find, even though they still have a religious background, they classify themselves more as spiritual or spiritually open minded, allowing them to integrate and bring different practices together to make their kind of own version of spirituality.
Yes, I say that all the time to my clients, or people that come to learn about shamanism or Reiki.
Hmm.
You, these are tools that you're bringing into your practice. I
Hmm.
find
Hmm.
it's very important to find something that resonates with you,
Hmm.
what feels right in your heart and your soul. You can learn a lot of different modalities out there, but there's some of them that just doesn't resonate. It just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just, you know, it's You just don't resonate,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Perfect example for me. Reiki, I love Reiki, but I just never took to it. I just never felt that that was my version of healing or the modality of energy healing that I wanted to focus on. It just never kind of clicked with me in the way that I've seen other people get a deep sort of rooted connection from it.
Yes, I agree 100%. For me, those are the two modalities that I've connected with,
Mm-hmm.
and I live by it every single day. I have, ceremonies. I have initiations that I start my day, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel, and let it be, I have altars here, as you know, P, in my room
Mm-hmm.
with the Virgin Mother. I have Kuan Yin on my altar. I'm just looking at them right now. I have Mother
Mm-hmm.
Earth. I have Saint Teresa. I've got another one over here. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you can see her, the Mother Mary's mom, Saint Anne. I've got
Mm-hmm.
statues all over the place. I've
Yep.
got crosses. I've got that is my that is my comfort for
Yep.
me. It just brings me comfort. And I know that I can always pray to the Virgin Mother, and I always get a response, or I journey with my compassionate
Mm-hmm.
allies
Mm-hmm.
and get a direct revelation
Yep.
in a metaphoric way, which makes me work a little bit
Yep.
harder,
Yep.
to find the keys that I need to help me move forward with my
Mm-hmm.
healing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, we're introducing ourselves tonight,
Yep.
but we're going to bring in all kinds of things.
Yep. It depends on the week. We're not even going to pick. We're just going to decide the week of what we're in the mood for, and then we're going to jump right in. So every week, maybe tune in, or if you miss an episode, always go back and double check. And one of the things we are going to try to do, we're going to be posting it onto YouTube, and we'll be posting the links on our Facebook pages as well. So Louise, what was your Facebook page again?
Your Healing Journey with Louise Lang Farr.
Okay, and mine is Angel Messages by Paleki. So it's Paleki, in case you missed it in the beginning. And Louise is Farr, so two R's on hers. So they'll be posted on the Facebook pages to take the links to YouTube. If you don't, you can't get that any other way. You can go through YouTube. We're going to be posting them onto Instagram, and I am Spiritual Medium Paleki. So I believe it's spiritual.medium.paleki on Instagram. And then my page is Angel Messages by Paleki again. So we're going to have it on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So, and we're also going to be uploading the audio as well. I forgot. So we're going to be doing the audio section. We're going to be using Podbean, and I believe then it should be available on all the major podcast forums. So Amazon and everything like that, we should be able to get it on there. So you can kind of follow it each week. But like I said, always go back. And one of the things we're hoping to do is, if you have any questions or any specific topics you might maybe want us to delve into or go into a little bit more detail for you, if it's curious, we would love for you to comment on it. And even just put your questions below, or your thoughts, or how something resonates with you, because I know I'm excited by it, and Lou is too, that we both want to sort of connect with everybody as well that's sharing this with us. And because the way we're figuring it is, we're talking to each other, but it's really you're the other person joining in this conversation with us. So we would love for this to become something that's almost an interactive process every week, where people can talk, you can share parts of your journeys, and it's just a way for everybody to see that we're kind of all in this together. And this is just one way or one avenue that we're using to try to get some of this information into the world.
Yeah. And the podcast is PLU, so P and hyphen and LOU. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. So anyway, so is there anything specifically? We're going to try to keep them to about 20, 30 minutes each week, just to make sure that they are small chunks that people can process in case we do speak about big topics or something. So is there anything tonight that you wanted to maybe talk about, last topic, or maybe first topic you wanted to jump into for us to have a quick discussion before we wrap up this week's podcast?
For me, what I noticed, because I'm teaching an advanced course in shamanism at the moment, and what I'm personally feeling is a sense of frazzled a little bit, because there was a discussion that was said during the class, and I sort of gave my 2 cents about a certain thing that one of the participants stated, and I really felt bad afterwards. I had that energy that came through me going, "Ooh, was I a little bit too harsh? Was I, But I'm noticing that the universe, the world right now,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
we live in with the COVID, with the pandemic, that I'm sensing that energy really, really strongly.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what I did is afterwards I just sat quietly and just rerouted myself, to
Hmm.
the earth,
Hmm.
and took in a nice deep breath and just said, yes, I'm allowed to have my opinions
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
certain things, but to not get attached to how the other person will perceive it.
Exactly, 100%. And I think that's actually a very important thing because for a lot of people that are empathic, which basically means that you intuitively feel into stuff. So you'll feel other people's emotions, you can feel things. Not only in this case could Lou be feeling the emotions of other people, but when you have something global like the COVID incidents that we have going on right now and everything, it almost forms a global energy that you can tap into as well. So in this case where Lou explained that she sort of like took a moment, recentered, reconnected, that is actually a great practice for anybody to do that maybe is feeling a little bit overwhelmed at this time or kind of feeling that a lot is happening for them. Because basically what you're doing is when Lou says she's grounding, she's reconnecting to the earth. So it's almost like she's centering herself back down or she's envisioning herself reconnecting. And that act itself is actually really good to sort of pull you out of your head. So even if you're not picking up on like other intuitive stuff, even if you're over processing too much, that is always what it's going to go down to. So if you hear us talking about it and I go, oh, I was overwhelmed this week, so I needed to ground myself, that's basically the process we're talking about is like recentering to the earth, reconnecting that root, kind of going back to that quiet space where it's just you and your soul reconnecting again, not everything else that goes along with it. And I mean, in this time especially, and like you can have anything happen. And I mean, now with the politics, there's so much going on with politics. There's the things with COVID. There's the environment. There's things with animal welfare. There's so many things that people get caught up in our daily lives that we actually find it's hard to get into a spiritual practice that's like keeps us calm or keeps us peaceful. And I think Lou made a very valid point. Even if you have a spiritual practice, you can still get disrupted. It's part of being human. The trick is to come back and ground yourself. So that's the wonderful thing with the universe. The universe isn't keeping track of how many times you ground yourself. It's literally going, okay, you need to reconnect, center yourself, and calm back down. And myself, I find for me, I actually tend to I bang my toes or I'll hit myself. Like that's the quickest way I can tell I need to ground or center is I like bang my hands or I slam my arm in something or and that's literally my body going, you're out of sorts. You're in something that's not grounded. Reconnect yourself. Now we'll jump onto this and then we'll start wrapping it up, Luke, because how are we
Yeah,
doing for time?
we're at the 30-minute mark.
Perfect. So we'll start wrapping this up then. So just really quickly then, what is it that you do or how do you work it to ground yourself or center yourself? Maybe for somebody who's never done it before, just so that they could maybe try the practice this week. And that's another thing maybe we can do each week too is give them a little something like a little homework that maybe the people can try to do if you've never done it before. So this week we'll give you guys a basic grounding and then Luke will take it from there. And then again, it will be uploaded, but we would love to also hear your experiences if you try the practice. If you got a connection, maybe you didn't, maybe there's something off with it, just in a way so that we can kind of also get the feeling of how it's resonating with you. Because again, each person when they ground is going to be different. So what
Mm.
works for Lou might not work for me. What works for Lou might work for you. So we just kind of always love that energy because we remind people, even if we teach something or speak about something that doesn't quite resonate with you, don't worry. It just maybe means that teaching is not in particular for you. There's something else you could work with. But in this case with Lou, where I know her version of grounding is a pretty generic one in the sense that a lot of people can kind of attach to it. I think that's a good one because she's got a great base from the shamanistic practice of the grounding or sort of the breathing into that. And I think that would maybe be a good one, maybe at least for people to start or even beginners because you do a lot of beginner teaching courses as well.
Yes. Yeah, well, for the grounding, what I usually ask people is to sit with their back straight, that they feel their spine connected to where they're sitting.
Mm-hmm,
And then I
mm-hmm,
ask them to take a nice deep breath and feel their bodies relax with each breath. And when they exhale,
mm-hmm,
the more their body sort of sinks into that chair. And then I ask them to focus on their feet. And when they have that feeling that they're connected to the earth with each breath, I ask them to imagine roots coming from under their feet
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and connecting to the earth. And so I'll talk to them saying, okay, feel the coolness of the ground, the grass. So I have them so almost go into a visualization every time they take a breath. I take them deeper and deeper with it. So it's really the easiest one that I've taught is that one. Just sit straight, breathe, feel your body connect to the chair, your spine connecting. I'm closing my eyes as I'm doing this.
No, perfect.
And then you feel you feel the roots under your feet connecting to Mother Earth. And then you continue breathing and just feel that energy sort of coming from the earth and rotating back into you and sort of like a nice energy circle that's going in and out. And then everything quiets down. That frenzy that you feel in your heart, in your stomach, it sort of calms down with each breath and each visualization of seeing those roots just extend.
Fantastic. So, perfect. Well, lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So go ahead and try with that one then, guys. You go with that one. And the reason why grounding is actually very important when you hear us talking about anything like journeying with your spirits, connecting to family that have passed, your angels or anything, we always, both of us would recommend you ground first so that you are coming from a place of centering to be able to make sure that the connection you're making is a clear one and not one that is either involved in a panic or involved in kind of maybe you're overwhelmed with something so you might not be getting your messages as clearly as possible. Grounding is a really great practice to start getting into the habit of, because as you saw with Lou, she automatically closed her eyes because she's so used to doing it. As soon as she starts speaking it, her spirit's already trying to go, okay, recenter, got to get me grounded, got to center in. So it eventually becomes like a second nature, which when you're trying to develop your spiritual practice or open up to even deeper intuition, it's a great thing to naturally go into that for some people almost becomes like a meditation for them. So they don't need to worry about specifically a meditation practice, but maybe they can initiate it or start it with their grounding practice. So, all right. Well, I think we might be at our time, Lou. How are we doing there?
Yeah, we got about 35 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think that's good there for this week. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in for the, what's the word I'm looking for? The introductory.
Inaugural lodge.
That's why we need two of us. Between the two of us, we'll get one thought out.
I was so nervous at the beginning of this, and then when I was doing the grounding practice, like everything sort of calmed right down because I was nervous. I was nervous about tonight, nervous for us to do this, but that's good to get nervous, right?
It is. That's human. And again, that's one thing we explain to people is spirituality doesn't exempt you from life. It gives you the tools to better ride the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing because a lot of people mistake it that when you have a spiritual practice, it's meant to get rid of all of your issues or you won't have any problems or you'll be able to get over everything or you shouldn't have an emotional response to something. And we kind of want to help people understand that through these practices, not only does it let you go through the ups and downs, but it lets you see in a different way, so maybe you don't have to attach to it as long if you don't need to, or it will give you the opportunity to maybe view it from a different way you've never seen before, to maybe work on healing or releasing it in a way that you might not have thought. So all right, so with that, thank you so much everybody for tuning in again to the inaugural episode of PLU, and we hope that you tune in every week, and we would love for you to also like and share the videos so that everybody has an opportunity to learn about the podcast and also the teachings we are doing. And below each video during the week, we're going to post links onto our Facebook pages, the YouTube page, the Instagram pages, just in case you're interested in following. Now, myself, I don't teach as many courses, not yet with my schedule the way it is, but Lou actually does do a lot, and hers are a lot online. So if you're interested in delving into shamanism, Reiki, anything like that, Lou's would be the website that you want to go to and just have a look at what she's offering and when they are available. So that is it from me. So any last things you want to say, Lou, just before we sign off?
Pete, thanks for doing this with me. I know we're going to have fun.
Perfect. It's going to be awesome. You'll see. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and may you be blessed. And thank you for watching.
Thanks, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Bye.